If you want to know the secrets of existence and the true meaning of life, I can't help you. But if you want some book recommendations, why not try reading the ones I wrote? If you're a fan of giant monster mayhem and anime weirdness, why not try Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1? If horror is more your style, you can't go wrong with The Occult Mafia. Those who enjoy their fantasy with a dark twist may be interested in Emerald of Maddox City. And if you're interested in shared universes, why not read all three? Hop on down to the description for links to all 3 books on Amazon. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video. I feel like I'm on a roller coaster with Godzilla Singular Point, because after seeing those figure reveals for Godzilla and Jet Jaguar, I was not happy. Those designs were just terrible when fully realized. But now that I've seen the latest trailer, I'm suddenly looking forward to it again. Not that my concerns about the bad designs have been completely expunged, but I'm no longer feeling that same level of trepidation. Let's start with the most obvious thing. Apparently Jet Jaguar is going to get a few design upgrades over the course of the series, and they won't just be saving those for a second season, if a second season materializes. You can see in shots such as this, his legs are longer and he looks more proportioned. Thank God for that. I don't necessarily think that excuses the terrible proportions of what he originally looks like, mind you, but I'm at least glad to know he won't really be stuck with that for the whole time. And now I can get behind this design a little bit more, because there's more of a balance there. I hope this isn't something they save for the very end of the series, of course, but there are different shots that make it look like he's going to receive different upgrades over the course of the whole series. Even so, it still looks like he's going to remain fairly small compared to, say, Godzilla. And that brings us to another interesting point. I've noticed people have been pointing out for a while that it seems like a lot of the kaiju in this series are gonna be smaller than average. Usually in these movies, a kaiju's smallest size is still just shy of 100 feet. Here, like in this shot with Anguirus, it's looking like they're gonna be mostly of a more reasonable size. That is to say, about the same size as you would expect from your average dinosaur or even some modern terrestrial large mammals and megafauna. Anguirus here, he's big, but he doesn't necessarily look kaiju-sized. He looks reasonably sized. And I've held off on speaking on that just because I didn't necessarily know if that was going to be the case across the board. I wanted to see a bit more footage here and there to really make sure it wasn't just a matter of perspective or something. We can now confirm that yes, it looks like quite a few creatures, like Anguirus and Rodan and Kumonga, who shows up in this trailer, are going to be smaller. Yet at the same time, it looks like other monsters such as Godzilla and Titanosaurus and Manda and a few others are going to be more within their usual size range of over 100 feet, possibly even over 200 feet. Again, it's hard to estimate precisely based on these shots, and knowing that the kaiju proportions are all over the place, even still, but I think that'll be interesting if they do it right, because what you have with that sort of separation is a chance to shake things up in terms of visual action. You can use the smaller monsters for the really quick and visceral action, but then you can have the bigger monsters come in for a moment of real power and real awe. That's what I would do, certainly, if I were running things. And it looks from this trailer like that's what Singular Point is going to do, and I hope that is what they do, because that, I think, would be the most effective way to make use of this wider range of size variants. And of course, let's not forget, some new monsters have been revealed, which is to say old monsters with new twists. Hedorah here is right behind me, though it looks kind of like Hedorah by way of Dogora. That's definitely Hedorah's head, but the coloration and the way he's moving strikes me more as the giant space jellyfish that eats coal. So, could be that they're kinda sorta fusing the two together, but it's mostly just meant to be Hedorah. We also got Kumonga, we got confirmation of Manda. Actually, we got confirmation of Manda through a toy announcement also. And we've also seen creatures that are difficult to identify. Some of the features might point to it being Gigan, or possibly Megaguirus, or Kamacuras. It's difficult to say because those particular creatures are in these action shots where the main focus is Jet Jaguar, and they go by so quickly we don't really have time to see which of them they might be, if indeed they are any of those creatures. But it looks like there's going to be a wide variety. There's going to be far more than what you would expect, and thus far, the focus is predominantly on kaiju that haven't really been featured in a long time. Other than Godzilla and Rodan, we haven't seen any sign of Ghidorah or Mothra or Mechagodzilla as of yet. And they are the monsters that always show up. And I don't doubt that they'll probably show up at some point. But right now, we haven't seen hide nor hair nor scale nor piece of metal of them. Which, I mean, I don't want to sound like one of those people who's just sick of seeing those guys over and over again, because I do like them. I know that they are popular and they keep coming back for a reason, and I like seeing them reinterpreted. But at the same time, it's really nice to have the spotlight be on kaiju that haven't gotten featured in a while. And perhaps that says a lot about what this series is intending to do. Perhaps it's intending to really go deeper, and whether it's more for the fans or more to draw in a new audience, I don't know as of yet, but it's really nice to see that these older monsters and more obscure monsters are being highlighted for once. Now, there's a lot of dialogue in this trailer, but as of this point, I've only seen the original Japanese audio trailer, and I do not trust YouTube's auto-translate function. I've used it enough times to know that it doesn't work. It doesn't even work when it's subtitling something in the same language. So translating a different language, not even gonna bother trying. That means I'm fairly sure I missed a lot of vital information about what this series might actually be about. I can understand a very, very minuscule amount of Japanese, but not nearly enough to make sense of what's being said here. So I can't really comment on any story beats or character beats at this point. Not based on this trailer, at least. Though again, it looks very, very different from what we got in the Polygon trilogy. Whereas that was all dark and somber and everyone seemed like they were on antidepressants, or maybe just depressants actually, because of how dour everything was. Here there's an energy, there's a vibrancy, even just to the way the characters talk. It's not quite to hyper shonen levels of everybody screaming every single line because they're just that hyped up and they've got their blood pumping so much, but they still feel more like there's an urgency and an energy to them, far more than anything we got in the Polygon trilogy. Speaking of which, I will occasionally see people saying that even though Singular Point looks like it's going to be a more visually exciting experience than the Polygon trilogy, they also hope that it's as thought-provoking and deep. I feel like I must bite my tongue because I don't want anything I have to say sound like I'm attacking people for having different opinions. But based on what I saw, the Polygon trilogy is not deep. It is pretentious. So I don't want this series to be as deep as the Polygon trilogy because that would make it incredibly shallow. It would be nice if it had some kind of substance, sure, but I don't necessarily think it needs to be all substance. The Polygon trilogy was trying to be all substance, and it fails. And I think that when you try to be all substance, you can sometimes lose track of actually being entertaining. What I want to see this series do is strike a balance, with the emphasis, of course, remaining on providing us with an entertaining experience. My policy has always been, if you have something you want to say that you feel is important, then great. But when it comes to entertainment, you gotta be entertaining. And there's ultimately nothing wrong with something that's just existing purely for escapism. If Singular Point is all escapism, I'm good with that too. I don't necessarily need to be confronted with the hard issues every time I want to sit down and watch a show. So with all of that being said, in summary, my previous concerns about Singular Point based on those design reveals have been somewhat assuaged. And now I am once again back in the camp of being really excited for this show. I still am concerned to a certain degree because we really don't know how it's going to actually work until we see it in full. But hopefully all of this is a good sign. I still think the design proportions are all over the map with some of these kaiju, and I'm still bracing myself for the possibility that this series is going to suck. See, I'm actually pretty familiar with anime, so I know for a fact that quite a bit of it can be really bad at times, usually because it's not so much concerned with being original as it is just following trends. That's why you have so many series that capitalize on this one single thing and reinterpret it any number of ways they can. Like, for example, after Neon Genesis Evangelion aired and it was a dark, gritty deconstruction, and it did really well, suddenly every new series had to be like that. Then a few years later, when Azumanga Daioh came along, and it wasn't a gritty deconstruction, it was just a nice cutesy slice of life show, suddenly you had a huge influx of series like that. And now you've got, now you've had isekai series that are all about people being transported to fantasy worlds. There are so many of those right now because that's what's considered popular. And I think it's at least a good thing to know that Singular Point isn't trying to capitalize on any of those sort of trends. If it's capitalizing on anything, maybe it's capitalizing on Attack on Titan, which, if you ask me, I'm surprised it took this long. But that's all immaterial. The point is, I'm now looking forward to this series again. I don't feel like all of my concerns have been completely addressed as yet, but I won't know if they have been until I actually see the show. I swear, sometimes I feel like I'm an animal on a chain. I think I'm going in one direction and then I'm suddenly yanked in another direction. It's not fun, but hopefully the destination I'm currently headed towards is the right one.
If you enjoyed what you just saw, hop on down to the description for links to Patreon, DeviantArt, and all of our social media, as well as links for Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, and Emerald of Maddox City, 3 original novels I think you'll really enjoy. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.